Cute looking, clean looking, sexy on the road again, doing our thing, talking about the Serpent Queen. I always say Queen Serpent, but it's the Serpent Queen. And Catherine Medici, I can't even say her name right, is at it again, doing what she does best, and that is convincing everyone that they're right and at the same time they're wrong. And this episode was very interesting because it was based on Rahimi and what her decision gonna be. As we saw at the finale of the last episode, Catherine tells Montmorency that can you trust this girl and will she make the right decision? Because if not, Mary will be queen and everyone will be at war. And we don't want that. Well, I added the war part because we found out in this episode what would happen as Mary ultimately meets Rahima in the room, and she wants to tell her a story to bring her to her side. And that's how the show began. But as we always gotta do, we gotta do a little advertisement, a little bit of everything else. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and please remember to just comment with your boy. I want to talk about this show. I love this. I love doing this. See you at the other side of the intro. Peace. I said peace. Hey, listen, I'm on vacation, so the world is different. But but you know what? Who ain't on vacation? Mary, Queen Mary of English descent, who is trying to unify under the Catholic Church, needs Rahima just like our great serpent queen Catherine does. She needs her to accomplish something, but she wants her to tell her why she's better than that evil, black-hearted Queen of England. I mean, Queen of France, and why they should be different. She starts out with the story talking about everybody was shocked when Henri died, except for Catherine. And we learned a little bit more about this episode because we go through, we see the jousting pole in his eye, which was very disturbing. Great visual to give effect, but very disturbing to say the least. It was a horrible look. What you saw in his eye, he was taken off. You see Dianne is distraught because again, she has no relevance anymore in this situation. And there's nothing for her left. There's literally nothing for her. She has nothing, so she's holding on. She's distraught, and we finally see the queen be able to make a ruling because the king is busy. He's basically busy trying to stay alive, of course. And they take him to the back, and they're trying to get the pole out of his eye, stop the bleeding because they don't want him to bleed out. And we see a moment that what I was questioning last episode. Catherine was telling him, "Why didn't you listen to me?" Meaning the message got to him. The jousting message got to him. Her helper actually got the message to him, and he went on ahead anyway. Why? Because he knew that she wanted. She knew it. She set him up here, and that she needed him out the way. And he don't know why she saved him. Why? Because he felt worthless. Again, just like his son is doing, he was a SIMP for Diane, who could just rub his head and tell him some church lyrics. I mean, some church lines. I'm a Sunday school kid. I don't know what I'm saying. Church verses and chapters, and he'll just purr like a baby and do whatever she wants. As we saw in the last episode, he felt kind of useless from that. He felt like he wasn't a man in a lot of ways. He felt like she kept him a boy, as he said in the last episode, and that ultimately he wasn't happy with himself because he knew he wasn't strong. Hence why he even hinted at his son, which makes sense to him telling his son not to be the product of women. Which, by the way, supporting your woman, loving your woman, listening to your woman is not a bad thing. But in this case, they are being manipulated by your woman, with whom have really no ambition. As we can see in this episode, we even see that Catherine has ambition, so she was probably better to listen to. Diane had no ambition but to stay in her position and when a person is like that, and when a person's around you who just want to stay in position, they usually do make bad decisions. Why do they make bad decisions? Well, it's kind of simple, right? They make bad decisions simply because it's easy to get manipulated in that situation. As we saw in this episode with Mary throughout the whole episode, Dianne was easily persuaded to do certain things for certain things and to hold her position, and that she was promised a certain amount of money out of taxes. Again, that's the problem with being with people who just want to hold position. They usually typically can be swayed by power. Mary, in this case, is not like swayed by power, but she's swayed by vitriol. And what I mean by, I don't think vitriol is the right word. I would say she is swayed more about a sense of duty and importance. As we saw when she was in the last episode, she was talking about, oh, I have no power because of my son. My husband can't have a son. He can't. If my husband can't have a son, I have no power. I have no influence, and I don't want to marry a man like that. And Diane them convinced her, of course, and her uncles convinced her, of course, that that's okay, right? You will still have power, and everything she says, she's trying to manipulate you. She's trying to trick you. But the Roman Catholic emperor, he decided he's going to manipulate this situation. He's decided that he's going to manipulate Mary into that nobody should rule over you. No one should be able to say because you are called by God. And he even stated in this episode he doing that just to destroy the country because he know what it would do. It will lead to a civil war, and then England and them can easily take it, and whoever get it first. And he knows it. He even mentioned in this episode during a future reference that his plan was. And Mary is imbued with this sense of duty. I think in this episode she was referred to as Joan. She thought of herself as a Joan of Arc. Her uncle said while they was in the carriage, talking about they can't control her and her religious vigor into doing what God said do, even though she's basically doing what the emperor does. Emperor told her to do rather than what God told her to do. But that what makes this show so intriguing, right? So they go back. Henri passes away. Henri actually tells her that he loves her, right? And she shouldn't have loved him because he's worthless. He's essentially not a strong man, I would say. He is not the most, I don't know how to say this, um, intriguing fellow, I should say. He's not the most strong willed leader that the world needs. He begs his son Francis to be the leader, and he knows he's gonna pass away. He knows how he feels. Diane gets him out, and he's laughing around, and they have a little weird party with Catherine. Goes out despondent. She just had the scene earlier where she was like, "Why didn't you listen to me when I told you?" And so she's a little despondent. She knows what's about to happen. So she goes in there in this amazing looking scene. They blurred the background a little bit. It looked amazing when she went in while Henri was smiling down. Like, he's fine, he's good. She like, he needs to rest. Mostly because she don't want him to pass away in front of all those people. And he passed away. Diane, like, you need to rest. And then, as we saw, Diane has to leave because, again, she has no real power in this situation. And Henri is gone now. And you end up seeing how dangerous Mary is. Mary's a lot crazy. They had the funeral. And we see that the Protestant church is under attack. We see that all of a sudden start seeing the plan come together for the role of the Holy Roman Emperor, and how he is planning on using his leadership to manipulate in a lot of ways, manipulate situations. Even at this funeral, you see him manipulating Catherine, trying to at least. He even admits that she's probably the most worthy opponent he had because Francis was powerful, right? The first Francis, the father, and Henri was actually won the war because he listened to it when he had to, and he actually had some. But Francis the second is not strong at all. He has no will. He is like 10 times worse than his father because his father actually at points had backbone. Francis II was born ill. as we saw through the episode. He was born ill. They talked about it multiple times through the episode. And Catherine essentially led her son. Catherine really does do what's best for the country if you're watching this show. But it seems so evil what she does, right? And even in some cases, she didn't even really do. In most of the cases, she didn't really do it herself. She hinted at it, but they could have stopped. Like it's not completely their fault or her fault. And that what makes the show so intriguing. That's why I enjoy the show. That's why I love this show. Because anything can happen, right? And we see the Holy Roman Emperor basically again, Charles, he tells them that he wants to play the game, but he'll see the country in ruin, which even motivates Catherine even more to do what she has to do for her country and ultimately become what we know from history as the longest reigning queen. And then that's when the game starts, right? Mary convinces Francis II with very little effort to outlaw Protestants. And if anybody doesn't bow to the Holy Roman Church and the Holy Roman Emperor and become Catholics, that they will be, as we can see, excommunicated, um, kicked out. We saw a lot of Protestants hanging from the French Quarter. They was in the woods, and you see Catherine walks out, and she sees all these people hanging. It's a very disturbing scene. By the way, it tells you how sick Mary is, and it even brings this black-hearted woman, Catherine, into play as a sort of she's the good guy in a situation where she will manipulate anyone to do what she needs. But she is the good guy. That was the most amazing thing about this story. And it's not even like a thing. It's just like history. It's just history of what happened. You know what I mean? So you have Catherine who is plotting to save the country from war, which her son goes on. His son is mad at her because like, oh, you're trying to be a mother now. She has Montmorency back, who is trying to lead the son. As we saw Henri earlier in the episode, tell Montmorency to lead my sons the way you helped me. Even though we saw in the episode he fought back, even though his son fought back too. Like, you have no authority here. I do what my woman says. Oh my God, the SIMP and this dude was doing in this episode was so insane. But they got back, and she got with the Dubois, and they have a plan in which they will have Protestant people kidnap King Francis II, and they will get him back and be forever grateful to the king. So you see Catherine now commencing her plan. She is talking to him. She convinces her son that he looks strong and he should be like this, and that she basically put the batter in his back. Well, she put the batter in Mary's back, who said, my husband can be strong. He needs to show a force. He has to go and take care of this church with Montmorency and the girl he had with her. We're going. And Montmorency is such a fascinating character because he's like clearly like the second smartest person in the show. Even I think she might be smarter than Roman Emperor King. I'm always get Catherine the smartest because she survives. She's like a roach that always survives, and she is incredibly smart. But she sets up this plan. Of course, as I said, the Catholic uncles that she has is doing a horrible job, and their father roasts them throughout the episode, and goes with Catherine's plan. Unfortunately for her, the episode ends with this dramatic scene of her son going out and actually coughing up blood, which brings me to this question. The question of the day, I essentially would say, is it Catherine's fault? Is it Catherine's fault for everything? Even though you can say it's out of her control and all of that, but is it her fault? What I mean by that is her son, she let her son outside knowing he's sickly and he bled out of his nose. And we don't know what's going to happen in the finale, but it appears that he will not make it and that she led him to his demise. The same way you can say she tried to stop Henri, but he went ahead and did it on his own. It's not technically her fault, but isn't it her fault? You know what I'm saying? So who do you blame Catherine? Do you think Catherine is the problem? Is it her fault? All this negative thing? Is she truly the black-hearted witch? Is her going to the with the doctor, the warlock doctor with all the lab stuff? Is it Ruggieri? Is it her fault for keep messing things up? Even though she even told Ruggieri that, listen, I said I didn't want this. I had a choice and I chose not to. And then he said she chose because he saw what she chose. And I'm like, so I see why Rahima like you're evil, but I can also see why Rahima would be like, oh yeah, Mary is crazy too. If I don't become Catholic, she will do horrible things to me. So like, who is the bad guy? That's the other question. Who is the bad guy? Because it seems like there isn't one. Well, there seems like there isn't a good guy, but it seems like you have two bad guys. But I've got to right with Catherine, because do we want? Do we really want Mary running the country? If you looking from the show without knowing history, we know what we want history wise. Of course not. But from this episode, I want y'all to answer me at the end of this. Who do y'all believe in? Right? Do y'all agree with Catherine, or do you agree with Mary? Mary lost everything, her husband to this. I think we're getting the present day with Montmorency, in which they're having a plan to. I wonder what her Rahima part of the plan, because we know they have a plan together, and it all depends on Rahima. And next week is the season finale. And Rahima said, "Don't trust anyone," which Montmorency actually admitted that, "Hey, listen, can we trust her?" So we see in the preview of next episode, she said, "Don't trust anybody." And my Marcy said, "Can we trust her?" And she said she'll do when the time to be done. I want to know the plan. And if she mistreated her, oh, that would be a genius thing. If she mistreated Rahima just to make Rahima turn on her, so she can give this letter to the king, that she switched out the letter. What if she switched out the letter to the England, her cousin, married cousin in England, who was like the ruler? If she switched out the letter and she dissed him, and it led to them joining Catherine's side, because she knew if I mistreat Rahima, she's a snaky girl like me, and she'll do anything to survive. So she'll give this letter to her, and that Mary knows she's a snaky girl, but she knows that she's been mistreated by her, so she's going to use her as a close confidant, even though she knew her personality. Catherine knew her personality, where Mary didn't, because Rahima a little snake too. So that's the whole plan. Y'all let me know in the comment. Let me know in the comments. Do y'all think that is? Let me know in the comments if y'all think that is Catherine's plan. If the queen is planning to be friends with Rahima, tell her story, then lead her to Mary's story, and Mary's gonna use this girl that Catherine likes to against her, so they knew it, so they was gonna use her to give the letter to the king rather than her be straight up loyal. Because that's the only way it makes sense, that she sent her to her room and then told her to go meet her. Because if Rahima if Rahima feel betrayed, Catherine, like Rahima is like me, she's gonna get her get back. Because she did lie to her at the end of this episode. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts. Let me know y'all comments. What y'all think in theory of the season finale. We'll talk about it next week. Any questions, all that stuff. And leave it in the description. By the way, don't forget to one last time, like and subscribe. As you can see, all the links to all our stuff is below. There's all the social medias from the gang and the group we in. That's all of them. It's Monray. You see Monray Hudson. You see all of them. You also see the checkout over on there and that. All the stuff you see that is at the bottom of your screen. And I just want to know just one last time. Let me know your thoughts on this episode. It was a really good penultimate episode. It wasn't the best episode by far, but it kind of set seeds of confusion for most people if you don't think it out. It leaves clues. So if I'm right, because it took me to write when I was talking to get most of these clues. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts on this thing. And of course, Like and subscribe one more time. I appreciate y'all. Peace.